Hello guys and welcome to a new movie review on this channel. Today we're going to talk about a more recent movie that is now the big craze in the internet and is regarded by many as the new big horror movie. We're talking about The Platform. So The Platform is a Spanish movie that was released, at least in Spain, on the 8th of November 2019 and is distributed and financed mostly by Netflix. The director of this movie, I'm just gonna write him down here. I will just butcher the name. I know my Spanish is horrible, so I'm not even gonna try. So here is his name. And the new imprisonment systems have prisons that consist out of a multitude of hundreds and hundreds of levels. And on each level there are two prisoners. And the food that is provided for the prisoners to survive starts from level 1 and goes down to the deepest and deepest level. Now the kicker here is that the platform stays at each level for a certain amount of time, not a long time. And the prisoner can take as much food as he wants during that time from the plate, which results mostly in the prisoners that are on the lower stages not getting any food at all. And throughout the movie we follow a prisoner called Goreng, who came to the prison on his own will in order to get rid of some of his inner demons. And we also get to know his cellmate, who is called Trimagasi. And as it turns out, Trimagasi is a bit of an interesting fellow. And soon Goreng will also realize that the system that is applied at the platform is way more brutal, unforgiving and unfair than he ever thought. And it will set him on a journey in which he will question the values of humanity and whether we actually do and act on the values that we preach. Now The Platform was a movie that I was really interested in because of the concept. Because if you think about it, it's really interesting to imagine a prison where you have hundreds of levels and there are always two prisoners on each level, and food moves down through each level, and the prisoners themselves can decide how much food they take away and how much they leave for the other prisoners on the lower levels. Now of course the kicker is nobody really knows how much levels the prison has, but they all know it's a lot, because you always switch to another level after 1 month. And sometimes you're on level 8 if you're lucky, sometimes you're on level 48, which is still great, it's like in the middle. And then you can be at level 170 and you will not get any food at all. And that results in some really gruesome things, let's say that. And that's already the big point. We're getting to a point that I think is a negative side of this movie, which actually is regarded by many as the positives. And that is the gruesome factor, the brutality in this movie. Now yes, this is a really off-putting and gruesome movie, definitely. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen anything more gruesome. I have to say that it's not like the most gruesome film you have ever seen. It isn't, but it's off-putting, definitely. It's stomach-turning, definitely. And it also has some really gruesome moments, some really cruel moments. The thing though with that is you can use that, and of course you should use this in a movie like this because, I mean, the concept is set up to be brutal and unforgiving. And you always have to keep the balance, because otherwise it just turns into a movie that's like, look how gruesome I am I not horrifying, look at how brutal this is. And it's like kind of showing off how brutal it is. It feels like it's showing off, like the director is like, look how cruel I am. And in my opinion, this movie sadly does this. It falls too much on the brutality side, because a lot of things are set up in this movie where I immediately knew, okay, this is gonna happen afterwards, this is gonna happen afterwards, something is gonna happen to this character. And it's just a little bit too predictable for me. And sometimes it feels like the director just put in a certain character just to make it more brutal. And when a character is only there just to create a brutal scene, and that's all of his and her purpose, then that's a very shallow and predictable approach in my opinion, and sadly this movie does it. What really frustrates me about this movie is it has so much potential. Like, the concept is great. I would actually compare the concept to The Purge, because The Purge has... Now I know you will scream at me, oh my god, what, you comparing The Purge to this movie? Calm down. I'm comparing it to the first Purge, and I'm comparing the concept of The Purge to the concept of this movie. And with The Purge you have a concept which is really cool and has social critique. And the same goes for The Platform. You have a really great concept with social critique. But the thing is, and that's also a comparison to The Purge, both movies don't utilize these great concepts as much as they could. Like in The Purge we have a night where for 12 hours everything is legal. And the only thing that people do is kill others. I don't think that's really realistic. A lot of people would just try to get as much money as possible, or just steal things that they would normally not afford. And in The Platform we have this concept of people have essentially can choose of how much food other people's below them get. So they're literally, there we have people that are above other people's, people who have more options, who have more chances to survive than others. It's a literal representation of our society and the cascade system that we still have in our society between the rich and the poor. It shows the divide between our society in that regard. And I really like that concept, but the thing is, the movie does not do a lot of it. And I think the movie could have done just so much more with this message than just show me, look how much suffering the people have down in the lower levels. Look how few food they get in the lower levels. Look how to which brutal things they have resorted in the lower levels. And look how bad the guys, how they are only so egoistic and they eat so much food and they don't care about the ones below them. I get the message. But that's the only message the movie tries to do. There's nothing that the movie expands on to show us more. And that's also the thing. I know suspense of disbelief is important in movies, and you shouldn't, as a viewer, question everything that the movie does, because of course it's set in a dystopian world. We shouldn't think, is this really possible? Could this really happen in today's society? No, of course not, because it's barbaric, you know? But the thing is, with suspense of disbelief, you can only push it so far. And what I found a real shame is that this movie does not expand on its universe. So you have no idea essentially what's going on in the outside world. Why does this prison exist? Why was it created? What purpose? Is society failing outside? Why? Who actually did this prison? Who is behind all of that? In The Purge, and I have to say this, in that regard, The Purge does it even better. I'm referring to the first movie still, just to get this clear. In The Purge, we know who is behind this. We know why they're doing what they're doing. In this movie, we don't know why this prison exists. The only thing we know is how brutal and how unfair this prison is, but we have no idea. There's even a guy in this movie that's always shown, and I guess he's from this corporation that created this prison. But we don't even get a name of him. We don't know who he is. We just see 2 scenes with him, and that's all. And I found that a shame. And there's also some points in this movie, especially there's 2 points in this movie where I just thought, I know I should just accept some things and don't think about it and question it. But there were 2 things in this movie especially, and if you see this movie, maybe you know what I mean, where a character says something to 2 other characters and they just take it for granted and accept it like he's a really important person who they should trust. And my only thought as a viewer was, first of all, who is this character who is giving them advice? Second of all, why is everyone trusting them? Because one person seemed to knew that one guy and the other one didn't know him at all. And the only explanation that we got of this trustworthy advice giver was, he's a very wise person. Honestly, that's all the characterization that this character got. And I just was in reality, nobody would just take the advice from someone that's he acted a bit guru-like. And if I don't know a guy, I wouldn't just take his advice, especially not in a situation that is so life or death as in this prison. So there are a lot of things which are not expanded upon, which actually aren't explained at all, and that's such a shame. And I just think the movie should have been made longer in order to explain this. I think we should have also gotten things outside of the prison and not always inside in the same environment. And I also think that what is happening in this movie action wise is really repetitive till the last bit. The last bit is something new, but till that moment, it's really repetitive. We get the same kind of message, first of all, and the same kind of things that are happening over and over again. And there's also a sequence in which the character goes a bit crazy. I mean, that's not really a spoiler. I mean, obviously he will go crazy. It's in the trailers. And he goes a bit crazy and he imagines things. And this happens at first once and you're oh, that's a cool thing. That's visually really cool. But then it happens 2 or 3 times again, in the exact same way. And it doesn't expand on anything. It's just the same thing happening again. And you're okay, what's the use of this? Why is this in? What's the purpose of it essentially? And it's just there to be edgy and look how scary and how horrifying, and he's going crazy. And I'm just give me more than this. Yes, great idea, but expand on it. Do something with it. And that's kind of the thing that's annoying me with this movie, because it has so much potential. It has such a great concept and it sets up in the beginning so much great things, but it does not expand on this. Now also what I have to mention about this movie, the acting in this movie is across the board great. Especially, and I will just like again insert the name because I will butcher the name. I can't, I really can't pronounce this name. I will just butcher it. I won't do it justice. So the guy, this guy, was especially great in this movie. Like the acting across the board was great, but I loved the performance from him. Like what I just loved about his performance is how subtly he was a bit like, you knew from the start something was off with him, but you couldn't really tell. And the movie like at first is like, is he really crazy a bit? Is he not? And like even till the end, I'm like, you know, I kind of got what he was saying, even though like what he did in the end to us is like, oh my god, that's really crazy. But when he's like explained, he's always so calm, and he also has like a bit of humor with him. And till now I can't even like say he's like a bad guy, because I understand why he did what he did, as crazy as it is what he did. And I love that when I can sympathize even with a guy who does stuff that we morally would not accept at all. And that's what this movie really did great. I think every character in this movie is really well explained, and we get their motivations, why they're doing what they're doing, what brought them there. It's just really nice. You can really feel into each character, and that's really well done in this movie. And added on to that, you just have really great performances that help you sympathize with all the characters. And apart from like the beginning section and the ending section, I don't think that the plot moved along at all. Especially in the middle, I think it kind of got stuck, and it just repeated to us what we already knew. And I was just like, I mean, I get it, but it's just show me something else. Show me the outside world. Tell me more about the universe. So guys, is The Platform really the next big horror thriller movie from Netflix that everyone should see because it's so brutal, so horrifying, so disgusting? No, I don't think so actually. I think it's a kind of underwhelming movie on the whole. I mean, yes, it's a visually and also acting-wise really well done movie, and it also does a great job at characterizing the persons that we get to know in this movie. But I think story-wise, the plot doesn't move a lot. We don't get any expansion on what's happening around us or inside and outside. And we just don't get the overall sense of the grand scheme of things. We don't know why things happen the way they are, why things got created the way they are, and why people from outside the world accept the things that happen inside there. And when especially the ending felt really abruptly to me, I just came out of the movie and felt underwhelmed and also annoyed, because I thought, god damn, this movie could have been such a great movie. Like, it could have been actually a movie that people thought about for years to come, and a really great movie that could have maybe also ascended to like this great status that The Purge has, as much as like the sequels of The Purge were not that great anymore. But what we all have to agree on is that The Purge actually made a mark in our society, and we all, and like everyone knows about The Purge, even though maybe most haven't even seen it. And I think this movie could have done that as well. So The Platform gets a 4 out of 10 for me. It's not a bad movie, it's just annoyingly underwhelming. That's probably the best way to put it. So what's your opinion on The Platform, guys? Write it down in the comments below. Let's discuss about it. That was me, David, signing off. Have a good one.